feather beds kept us warm in the wintertime when it was very, very cold. We went up on the mountains and down in the valley and picked blackberries when blackberries was in season, and grandmother would make berry pies, and they were very good. We eat poke salad. A lot of people don't know what poke salad is, but we had poke salad and scrambled eggs was very good. Anything to make a meal. We eat hominy, which hominy was very, very cheap. You eat what you get. Eat plenty of potatoes and pinto beans, and that was made a meal. Well,
So,
we moved back to Mobile. I was about 5 years old, I guess, when we moved back to Mobile. And
so what was the reason to move back to Mobile?
well, Dad was still living in Mobile, so we moved back to Mobile. When we moved back to Mobile, Daddy had moved out of the government housing and moved into a little shack. I mean, it was a shack, a little, actually one room shack. And so we lived in that one room shack. It didn't have no running water in it. And so, I mean, we were used to something like that, but we didn't never like it.
No, I can't imagine you would like it.
Somebody come out here. Anyway, we lived in that shack for a year or so, and Daddy bought another shack. He bought it. We was renting that, and he bought another shack. And so we lived in that for a number of years. Had no running water there, no inside bathrooms, outside facility to bathroom, if you call it a bathroom. Outhouse.
Outhouse.
We had an outhouse. We were all poor in that area, and most of the people around us was real poor.
Now, was that in Chickasaw?
That was in old North Mobile.
North Mobile.
That was in North Mobile, in the county.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir? Uh, anyway, Daddy bought this other little place right next door. It was a shack, and that's where we stayed until I was a grown man. Uh, we didn't, like I say, we didn't have any inside. We had a wood stove to cook. Daddy wouldn't buy no. We had an old stove that burned some coal, but coal was too expensive, so we burned wood in the wood stove to heat with, and wood in the cook stove to cook with. We lived poor, like we was way out in the country. We wasn't way out in the country. It was close enough Daddy could almost walk to work to the shipyard. He rode a bicycle to the shipyard because he worked at the shipyard.
Now,
And that's the reason we were in Mobile, for work. My dad to have work.
now, which shipyard was that?
Gulf Shipyard.
Now, was that in Chickasaw?
Chickasaw.
Okay.
He rode a bicycle to Gulf Shipyard to work. It was a job. It didn't pay a whole lot of money, but it was a job. And like I say, we lived very, very poor. We wore hand-me-downs and patch clothes. And I'd like to have some pictures, but I will get up some pictures to show the kind of clothes that we wore to school. Wasn't much, but it kept covered us up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
No shoes.
No shoes.
Finally, at school, they said, well, you got to have shoes to wear to school. You can't keep coming to school barefoot. So Daddy would buy, they called them back then, they called them high-top shoes, they called them brogans.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, you buy you one pair a year. When you wear them out, you just go barefoot. So that's just the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to tell this story because I'd like my grandkids to know how I lived when I was a kid. Went to school, and I was a slow learner in school. Didn't do well in school at all. Got to shame the way I had to dress and not knowing how to read well. Being embarrassed to get up in school and try to read and couldn't need no part of the words and stumble through reading. Couldn't read well, and so got embarrassed, very embarrassed. And so I got where I wouldn't stay in school. I got where I just hated to go to school. And I would just stay out of school. Finally, I quit school. When I got old enough to get out of school, I got out of school and said I would work. Find something I would work without any education. And I took it to carpenter trade, and I did real well in the carpenter trade, but I would have did a lot better if I'd had some education. But I did well, because I knowed how to use my hands and I knowed how to work, and didn't mind working. And I made a living for my family. But I could build anything. Still can, but I'm not able to work now. I'm 80, soon be 86 years old, and I need to tell this story. People look down on us because we were poor. People shouldn't do that, but it's still happening today, this day and time.
It really is.
But I'm in the place where I was born, right near the place I was born. Like I say, we lived in a little tent, and I was born in a tent. And I wanted to come back up here in this atmosphere and start this little thing, and
So-
just tell my story.
So this is Cartwright, Alabama.
This is Cartwright, Alabama.
This is 2025. And this is Redius Wayne Brooks.
This is Redius Wayne Brooks, and my mother got this name from a relative. And it's a kind of unusual name, but I have one relative somewhere that has the same name, because sometimes I get my checking account mixed up with his some way or another. But he lives in I think he lives in Montgomery.
Really?
But we do have relatives in Montgomery,
Mm-hmm.
in the Brookside.
I didn't realize that.
Well, H.G. went there to try to find them and never could find them. That was his great uncle. Could never find them. So we have cousins there we don't know.
Well, the Brooks family was very large. Is that correct?
It was a big, large family, but they all dying out.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have, Wayne?
5 brothers, 2 sisters.
That is a big family.
It's a big family.
Okay. All from one mother and father.
All from one mother and father.
Okay. That is unusual.